Welcome to 49ers First Look. I'm Matt Maiocco with Jennifer Lee Chan, and you're, of course, watching Jimmy Garoppolo, who will not play today due to a calf injury. He's going through some rehab. Looks like he's built up a nice little sweat this morning as he got here early to State Farm Stadium to work out under the direction of the 49ers strength and conditioning staff. So 49ers, of course, will not have Jimmy Garoppolo today, but they will have Trey Lance, and we have Jennifer Lee Chan.
Well, hello. Good morning.
What's going on, JLC?
Trey Lance reportedly had a good week of practice, is getting a lot of reps with the first team, which I think will help him this week against the Cardinals here at State Farm Stadium. Probably, getting those reps is going to be a big help. Also, he's got the help of Elijah Mitchell, which will help him out as well. But
it'll be the three rookies.
It is.
I think those three are the key to this game. It's going to be how the 49ers run the ball today, and it's going to be Elijah Mitchell, it's going to be Trey Sermon, and it's going to be Trey Lance running the football. And how the 49ers, how much success the 49ers have with their ground game is going to kind of set the stage for what they can do with Trey Lance and the passing game.
And they're going to be without George Kittle, which is kind of a safety net for Trey Lance or Jimmy Garoppolo, whoever would be under center, but they're going to have to rely on Trey Sermon, Elijah Mitchell, Deebo Samuel, and Ross Dwelley will probably have a bigger role today as well.
And how about this? 49ers don't have a lot of speed, a lot of big play-making ability down the field. They did bring up from the 53-man, or from the practice squad to the 53-man roster, Travis Benjamin. So he will probably be playing a lot of special teams, but I wouldn't be surprised to see the 49ers try to use Trey Lance's arm to get the ball down the field to the speediest of their wide receivers, and that is Travis Benjamin.
I think it's going to have to be a group effort from everybody on this squad, because no one person is going to be able to carry it. They've got to have everybody working together. There can't be mistakes from the offensive line. Alex Mack can't be snapping the ball when he's not supposed to. That's
ill-advised.
It is. The offensive line needs to work with the running backs need to work with the offensive line, and everybody needs to be where they're supposed to be in order to support Trey Lance. Are you where you're supposed to be, Matt?
Well, no, but Mark Dalton wasn't. He almost, the PR director for the Cardinals, almost ran in our shot. There's Jimmy Garoppolo spinning the ball on his left hand, talking to Mike McGlinchey.
So he was going through some drills out here. He's been out here I've been down on the field for about maybe 20 minutes, and he's been working out this whole time. He doesn't look like he's got as much mobility as he has before. That calf injury hindering him and his mobility, going through some drills here.
Looks like Mike McGlinchey's lobbying for one of those tackle-eligible plays to show off his hands. Former tight end, I believe, Mike McGlinchey, right?
That is correct.
So anyway, thanks for tuning in to 49ers First Look. We do this 2 hours before every 49ers game. Road, home, doesn't matter. Jennifer Lee Chan and I will bring you the latest updates on everything else. And thank you for joining us on Facebook. Thank you for joining us on YouTube Live.
The link is on Twitter, of course, and we put it on Instagram as well.
And it's also on the My Teams app. So if you have the My Teams app, go to the 49ers page, and that should pop up.
Harold Murillo would like us to talk about George Kittle's injury. It is a calf injury. He did get bent back very awkwardly, and we asked Kyle Shanahan this week if it was a knee injury. He said no, it is a calf injury. That move did look very violent, but that's not where his injury stems from. That's not why he's been placed on IR. He is not eligible to return until Week 9 when the Cardinals visit Levi's Stadium, so it would be the same matchup, but a few weeks later. It's 3 games, not 3 weeks, so the bye week does not count. Week 9 is when George Kittle can return to playing in games.
And I think the 49ers hope, their expectation is that he will be able to play when his time on IR is, when those 3 games are up. The 49ers felt, and there was they sought the opinion of obviously their own medical staff, but also outside opinions. And the consensus was basically that they could continue to have him not practice during the week, play in games, and it would just continue to get worse and worse. And by shutting him down for 3 weeks, the expectation is that he will be able to give that calf muscle the kind of rest, the kind of treatment, the kind of rehabilitation that it needs in order for him to be healthy. So instead of just playing with this injury through the entire season, the hope is that George Kittle will come back and play the final 7 games and be healthy and see if the 49ers can make a run at this thing. There you see Jimmy Garoppolo speaking with Laura Oakman, who is on the call today for the sideline reporter for Fox. Can you read what she's writing?
I can't. She's definitely taking some notes, though.
I think it's Jimmy Garoppolo is feeling better and hopes to be in the starting lineup on October 24th when the 49ers return to action against the Indianapolis Colts. And that's a big question, right? I'm sure everybody's wondering, is this going to be the start of the Trey Lance era? And I guess my answer would be, ask me after the game. Because
that is right.
The one thing that Kyle Shanahan has talked about, and he's been very upfront about it, he's never wavered in that Jimmy Garoppolo is their starting quarterback. If Jimmy Garoppolo were 100% healthy, he would be on the field here today as a player, not just rehabbing. And it's not Trey Lance's job, but Trey Lance can certainly enter into the picture if he plays well, if he has the offense down, and he proves to Kyle Shanahan that the team's best chance of winning football games in the future is with him at quarterback.
The 49ers really dodged a bullet here, though, because they thought that Jimmy Garoppolo was going to be out for a while, several weeks. They also thought Trent Williams was going to be out for several weeks. So
I think Jimmy felt that way.
Yeah, I think they both did.
Yeah, Jimmy felt after that game. You don't often hear quarterbacks say what he said after the game last week against Seattle, which was, I hope it's only a few weeks.
So they did get pretty lucky, considering all things considered, that both of those two players and George Kittle as well out for a few weeks. But really, at least it's not season-ending injuries for any 3 of those, which it did kind of look like. Trent Williams scared everybody leaving on a cart.
Yeah, and it turns out Trent Williams will be playing today.
Yes.
He's not even on the injury report. So.
I think that was a big scare for fans and staff alike, teammates alike as well. Let's see, we have a question from, where is it? It is asking if Brandon Ayuk will have a bigger role today. Sage is asking that.
I'm not sure he can have a smaller role. I mean, honestly, right? I mean,
right.
He's only been targeted 11 times the entire season, 6 catches. So Brandon Ayuk, of course, played college football right here in the desert at Arizona State. At least he played his last 2 years here after playing at the JC level. Yeah, I mean, they need him to get going, and they don't have George Kittle. They don't have, they need him to assert himself. They need him to do the right things, to get on the field and earn that playing time. And we'll see as we get going here as far as what Brandon Ayuk can bring to the table. And now look at us, we're entering the picture. We've arrived. Hey. We were like in the parking lot. We didn't know that Facebook or First Look was going to start up here.
Have you had coffee yet today?
I have not. Actually, I am. I just had a cup of coffee. Thank you for joining us. We are at Glendale, Arizona. I expect a lot of 49er fans here to watch their team, a very desperate team, having lost 2 straight games, taking on the Arizona Cardinals. And the Cardinals are not a desperate team. They're the only unbeaten team in the NFL right now at 4-0, and they lead the NFC West. So I like the idea of, the desperate team, and this is a big game for the 49ers. And of course, the Cardinals will tell you, hey, it's a big game for us too. Mm-hmm. But we saw the desperation of the Seattle Seahawks. And 49ers, frankly, they outplayed them last week. But Seattle came to Levi Stadium, they got the win. And now we'll see if the 49ers, with kind of the tables turned, if they can put together the kind of game that just kind of keeps them around in this game, because the Cardinals will want to stomp on them early.
Absolutely. I do think that there is going to be a lot of 49ers fans. I was dropped off on the wrong side of the stadium today.
Is that anything like waking up on the wrong side of the bed?
No, because I still made it here, so I'm good. But as I was walking around the entire stadium, lots of 49ers fans here. And, everybody, of course, will be wearing red because both teams are red, but a lot of 49ers fans here. I think it'll be loud. 49ers faithful travel very well to away games.
They do. Yeah, we've seen them everywhere. Is this our third road game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Detroit, a lot of 49er fans in Detroit, a lot of 49er fans in Philadelphia, and a lot of 49er fans here in the desert. And this is typically a game where, a lot of 49er fans come to because it's a nice getaway, and the weather outside, of course, we're in a dome and the roof is closed here, but the weather outside is very nice. It's not the 120 degrees of the desert during the summer. So it should be a good game. What do you think the key is for Trey Lance and the offense to function at a high level?
I think it's Trey Lance coming in settled. He's had a full week of practice with the ones. I think he'll have a better start, and I think that's important. I think getting off to a nice, clean start doesn't necessarily have to be fast, but something that can get his confidence up, because he didn't have a great start last week coming in at the half. Of course, coming in at the half, finding out right when you're going back onto the field after halftime can be a little nerve-wracking. He said it wasn't nerves, he didn't have any nerves, he wasn't anxious at all, but I don't know how it can't be a little nerve-wracking to get the call up just a few minutes before the second half is supposed to start. And
I think it works both ways, right? Some guys, the more they think it through, the more they're thinking about it, they tense up and get tight. Other guys are like, oh, what? You need me to go in? And you don't have a whole lot of time to think, you just react. I get the sense that Trey Lance is I don't know if this is a word, he's a preparer. He likes to prepare. He likes to watch film. His dad taught him how to watch film from an early age. So I get the sense that he will do better with not just the preparation. Everyone's going to do better with more preparation, but just the idea of having it sink in. And basically he's known for the past week that he's going to be starting. So now he's watching film with a purpose. Now he's watching, and when I say that, I mean the Cardinals defense, but also his own game film, his game film, his practice film. And so I think that's how he gets better. And I think that he's going to benefit from that. To me, the number one thing is just do not turn the ball over. That's what the 49ers, I don't know that they have stressed it all that much to him, because it's one of those things they don't want to put it in his mind and have him play too timid. But the fact of the matter is, if he plays like a rookie and he gives this Cardinals defense a defense that creates a lot of takeaways, if he gives the Cardinals offense short fields and the 49ers defense has to run out there and do like they did last week after the blunders on special teams where the Seahawks had to go 12 yards for a touchdown, the 49ers don't have any chance if they do that. He has to take care of the ball and just play at a level where you would expect him to make plays. You expect him to make plays with his arm. You expect him to make plays with his legs. He just can't make plays for the other team.
No one needs to make plays for the other team. That's been an issue for the 49ers, is turnovers. They've got to hold on to the ball in all three phases of the game.
Hold on to. Well, they need to take the ball away on defense.
That too. That's another thing that the 49ers haven't done this year yet, is had a lot of takeaways. And I'm
going to put you on the spot.
Yes.
They've only had one takeaway. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. And do you remember which one it was? I didn't. I think about it. It was Dre Greenlaw.
Oh.
The pick six in week 1 against Jared Goff. That's been their only takeaway, which is shocking to me.
For how good this defense is and how talented they are, the players that they have, it is amazing. I think D'Amico Ryan said sometimes it's a little bit of luck. It just hasn't gone their way. They need a little bit of luck. They need the ball to bounce their way, and it hasn't happened yet. Remember Jim Harbaugh said,
The olives.
The olives.
Yeah.
It's like a jar of olives. Once that one comes out, they'll start flowing, but it hasn't happened yet.
One came out.
Yeah.
And then the rest have just been pits.
They're still stuck in the jar.
Here's the thing. I would say my eyeballs have shown me that Fred Warner's not having a good season. And he's not making the kind of plays that you would expect Fred Warner to make. He hasn't been as good in pass coverage. I don't think his run fits have been where they want him to be. And that is bared out by looking at the PFF numbers. Like, he ranks among the bottom in the league as far as inside linebackers.
Now, do you think that it's more tasks being put on his plate is why?
I think he's putting more on his plate. Right, I mean, I'm sure they are. I'm sure they're putting more on his plate. They're having to do more things. But I also think, and I don't know if it's because of the contract, I just kind of get the sense that he's not just going out there and playing fast, playing fearless, just playing football. I get the sense that he's almost been a little bit mechanical and robotic in how he's playing. I could be wrong, but that's just the sense I get watching him.
And this is kind of what he's gone through before, right? He started out fast as a rookie. The second year they put more on his plate, and then they tried to take things off his plate, helped him play faster. That's when he had his best season, and then now maybe more on his plate.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. And so now it's up to DeMeco Ryans. And if what we see is what we think we see is what's actually happening, then that's DeMeco Ryans. That's on DeMeco Ryans to absolutely put more on his plate, but then realize, okay, this works, this doesn't. And so, hey, DeMeco Ryans, first-year defensive coordinator, he's going through this for the first time. And, I mean, the moment the 49ers signed Fred Warner to that contract extension, I wrote, they got to put more on his plate. They got to have him blitz more. They got to have him attacking the line of scrimmage more. All that's good, but you also can't take away from what he does really well. And on third down, if he's blitzing, then that means he's not in coverage. And we know he's so good in coverage, but now even that area seems to be a little bit suspect as well.
Yeah.
And we're not, believe me, this isn't a rip Fred Warner session.
No, not at all.
It just, he holds himself to a high standard. He set it himself.
And he's played better than this. It's not that we have higher expectations than what he has for himself or what he's already done. He's done it before. He just isn't doing it yet this season. And I believe he will.
Yeah, because he'll figure it out. Like,
Absolutely.
I mean, there's probably nobody on the team the 49ers would have more trust in figuring this out and becoming the kind of player they expect him to be on a weekly basis. And hey, I tell you what, there's no better time for him to start making plays than right here in the desert against the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona, as we mentioned, 4-0. 49ers are 2-2. They run the risk of losing a third straight, and if they do that, they'd fall 3 games behind. So that's why Trey Lance's first NFL start is a big game. The season's not over if the 49ers lose, but they can make things a lot easier on themselves by picking up this victory and going into the bye week feeling really good about where they've set themselves up for the second half of the season when guys are going to be returning to action.
Yeah, a lot of questions about Greenlaw and how he's being missed. Statements, and then also when does he come back?
Greenlaw, that was like a 2-month injury, so he'll be back. I would imagine they're thinking like week 10, week 11, right around there. So he had the same core muscle surgery that Nick Bosa had by the same surgeon. And so I haven't seen Dre around. I haven't seen him rehabbing in Santa Clara. I'm sure he is, but I just haven't seen him. But whoever asked that question, good question. We'll ask that question to Kyle Shanahan next week during the bye week to kind of get, or maybe even tomorrow, just to see where he is, Dre Greenlaw, with his rehab. Is that the new kicker out there? Let's step aside here.
Yeah.
I think that's the new kicker, Joey Slye. Joey Slye. I said Slye. I think I confused him with Darius Slay. No, that's Joey Slye. And Joey's spent some time in the weight room. He's spent some time in the weight room. He's big.
That was an interesting how that kind of all transpired last week with Robbie Gould.
Yeah, tell me what you saw before the game.
He strained his groin during warm-ups, so he was kicking on the field during warm-ups, and strained his groin. And I saw him have a long conversation with Kyle Shanahan. And then Kyle Shanahan a long conversation with Mitch Wisnowski, who ended up trying a couple PATs and a field goal. And then they went in and picked up Joey Sly.
Yeah, they had 3 kickers come in for workouts, and they ended up signing Joey Sly. There goes Joey into the locker room. Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Amador Lenore coming out.
Now I think it's going to be Dre Kirkpatrick and Josh Norman today as the starters.
Really?
I do.
Over Emmanuel Mosley.
I think it's going to be, I think those 2 are going to be the guys who play more today.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that some intel there? And there's
No.
Josh Norman, speak of the devil.
Not a little intel, just a little
out.
instinct, just because those 2 have so much experience. Josh Norman, another guy who they thought was going to, Josh Norman, another guy who they thought was going to be out for a lot longer than he was, coughing up blood on the sidelines.
Yes, never a good thing.
Ended up coming back much more quickly than anyone thought.
And so it was interesting, Dre Kirkpatrick this week. I like him. I mean, I only met him once, but he said that he feels like Josh Norman has earned the starting job, that Josh Norman got here before he did, and he played well that game against the Packers that Josh Norman played. I thought Dre Kirkpatrick played well last week against the Seattle Seahawks. And so, yeah, that's interesting that you think that. I don't think there's any question. I would think that it's Mosley.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll
see.
I'll bet you a cup of coffee when we get upstairs. A free cup of coffee. That'll be our wager. But I do think, I think they have 3 cornerbacks that they like now, and I think that they can mix in. They can have all 3 of those guys play. Last week, Dante Johnson was the nickel back, and Dre Kirkpatrick and Emmanuel Mosley started. We'll see what they do at the nickelback position. Buster Screen is now his 2nd week. Oh, and have we talked too much about some of the roster moves? We did mention Travis Benjamin is up. He will play speedster. I'm sure he'll see a lot of action in the return game. They also promoted Tanner Hudson, a tight end, from the practice squad. That was an elevation. Nate Sudfeld up from the practice squad, so he'll serve as the backup quarterback to Trey Lance. You saw Jimmy Garoppolo out here warming up earlier. He is inactive. He will not play, and we'll see. I think there's a very good chance he'll be back for that game after the bye week against the Indianapolis Colts. And then whether he's starting or not, well, Kyle Shanahan said that this is a 1-week deal with Trey Lance, but Trey Lance, his performance can speak for itself today, and maybe he can make the argument that it shouldn't be just a 1-week deal.
I think it all depends on how he plays today, for sure.
That, and also I think how Kyle Shanahan grades him as far as, is he making the right decisions? When Kyle Shanahan draws up a play, he wants it run a specific way. And if Trey Lance, even if he's making plays, if he's not running it the way it should be run, then Trey Lance faces a very uphill battle to remain in the starting lineup, even if his play looks good to the naked eye.
Yes, does he make the right calls? Does he throw the ball where it's supposed to go? Does he make the right calls on the line?
Yeah, I would think he'll be working in tandem with Alex Mack. I know that Trey Lance at North Dakota State called his own protections. He had a lot on his plate in that offense, and I will say that in the speaking of Trey Lance, there he is taking the field, and Nate Sudfeld in the red shirt right behind him. The North Dakota State offense got Trey Lance pretty well prepared to play at this level, because it's a pro-style offense. He calls a lot of the protections. They run a lot of play action. So that's the key, I think, in this game, is to get the run game going and make play action more effective, because the Cardinals are a little bit beat up in the secondary. They will not have Byron Murphy at one cornerback spot. He's injured. He's out for this game. He was having a really good season. They have two really good safeties, Jalen Thompson and Buda Baker. And so this is not an easy task for Trey Lance in his first start to go up against this defense.
I think the one thing that they have maybe going for them, the 49ers, is that maybe the Cardinals are a little overconfident in this game. They're 4-0. They think the Niners are beat up. Maybe they come in not completely prepared. Maybe it's a little surprise for them. I think that's how the 49ers could take advantage of them at this point. You never know.
I just think after the 49ers came in here late last season and in essence kind of knocked the Cardinals out of the playoffs, a lot of players returning off this Cardinals team. I don't think they've forgotten that. So, I mean, they learned their lesson last year against C.J. Beathard when the 49ers won this game right here. The Cardinals won't be overlooking them, but I do believe there is something to, playing an emotional game one week, having a big victory like they did last week against the Los Angeles Rams, and then trying to come back the next week and facing a team that, right now doesn't stack up to the Rams, and trying to put together another big performance.
I think one thing that's interesting that we learned this week is that Mike McDaniel talked about how the tough part of them for preparing for Trey Lance to be quarterback all happened during the offseason. The fact that they put together packages for him, the stuff that Jimmy Garoppolo has done, are things that Trey Lance can do as well. That long pass to Deebo Samuel, Jimmy repped that a bunch of times as well. So those types of plays are things that are going to work for both quarterbacks. So it's not like they had to take this week and come up with new stuff for Trey Lance. They've been working on it since the offseason, and I think that helps with the game planning and helping him be prepared for this start.
Yeah, I mean, I would say there's not a play in the 49ers playbook when Jimmy Garoppolo is a quarterback that Trey Lance can't do. Conversely, there are plenty of plays that Trey Lance does that Jimmy can't do. So I think the offense is wide open. They can use the same stuff that they've done with Jimmy Garoppolo, but also mix in a lot of the the RPOs and the quarterback-driven run game and all that. Is that Javon Kinlaw right there?
That is Javon Kinlaw.
So he was listed as
questionable
with the knee.
But it's kind of what we've seen most of this season, that he's been questionable, but he still ends up playing. He's had that knee injury. He's had that knee injury, but he's been able to play.
Yeah, but you know what? He hasn't been able to practice all that much, and I think that's big. I think he's missing out on some major opportunities to get better because he hasn't been able to get out there and play. There's Javon right there. So we're going to be with you here for another 1 minute. Oh, well, how about that? This is the 1 minute warning.
It is the 1 minute warning.
Jennifer Lee Chan, I'm going to turn it over to you. What do you think?
I think the run game needs to get going quickly, and I think Ross Dwelly has a big task ahead of him. I think if he can play, filling in for George Kittle, taking on a little extra responsibilities and roles there, and the run game. Those two are keys to the offense really functioning. But really, the run game, helping Trey Lance out, not putting too much pressure on his shoulders, I think that's going to be a key to their success here today if they're going to have it at State Farm Stadium.
Yeah, big game for the 49ers, and we get to see Trey Lance for the first time. The young man the 49ers traded up to get on March 26th. They traded to number 3 overall, traded away a couple future first-round draft picks and a third-rounder. They ultimately decided after Trevor Lawrence went 1 and Zach Wilson went 2 to pick Trey Lance, and today he gets his first NFL start right here against the Arizona Cardinals, the unbeaten Arizona Cardinals. So for Matt Maiocco, for Jennifer Lee Chan, I'm Matt Maiocco.
You're not Jennifer Lee Chan.
I am not Jennifer Lee Chan. As hard as I try, I can never be Jennifer Lee Chan. This has been 49ers First Look. We will see you back in 2 weeks. Next week's the bye week. We'll see you back here 2 hours before the 49ers and the Indianapolis Colts kick off on Sunday Night Football.